The top 250 guitarists of all time. What an expansive list. Let's get to it. The question to ask here might be, is this clickbait and is this even a real list? So Andy Summers at 250, all I have to say about that is, what you talking about, Willis? Number 250, Andy Summers of The Police, Sting, Stuart Copeland. How can this guy barely make the list? Shocking to me. I couldn't believe it. When I saw 250, I think he's probably quite a bit higher up in that list. How many number one hits do they have? You know, now he's not a shredder by any means. With the atmospherics, the heavy chorus, and being in a trio and really filling the space with Stuart Copeland's drums and Sting's pop sensibilities and bass playing. And as far as influential, I mean, I don't know. I think he should be higher. So part of putting together a list like this is that you're gonna leave some people out. Now let's take a look at some of the top misses. Some parts of this list I would say are very interesting and a little odd, to say the least. Joan Jett and Joni Mitchell are ahead of Mark Knopfler of Dire Straits, Steve Vai, Mike McCready of Pearl Jam, Joe Perry of Aerosmith, and Slash from Guns N' Roses? Really? I mean, I kind of really like that Joan Jett kind of riot girl, punk, hardcore. She's pretty cool. I love it. But as a guitar player, I don't know if she's above some of those other people, but seems a little bit unlikely. That's a little bit strange to me. And from a folk perspective, Joni Mitchell, yeah, she should be on this list, but maybe a little lower. So while I'm not exactly a country music aficionado and expert, I do know good guitar players when I hear them, and I don't know if country was really represented on this list. How about Glenn Campbell, Chet Atkins, Roy Clark? The thing about country is the finger picking is really amazing and really good, and it's a certain style and vibe that, you know, many rock players don't have. So maybe there should be some more country guitar players on the list. Those are three that I can think of. How about Yngwie Malmsteen, Swedish metal shredder? Where is he? He's not on this list. George Benson, the jazz great, and in the jazz world, a very, very accomplished player. So not sure why he's not here. And what about Steve Miller or even Peter Frampton, who, by the way, has a really interesting Black Hole Sun cover by Soundgarden, which you should check out. So those are some of the guitar players that maybe should be on the list somewhere. Now at 250, you can't go with everyone who's ever played guitar, so obviously people are going to be left out. And it depends who's making the list, because sometimes it's people that, you know, some people put singer-songwriter types like Paul Simon. Paul Simon does have hits. Simon and Garfunkel, most people know who that is. Very influential in the 60s, 70s, you know, pop folk scene, but maybe he's further down the list. Let's get into the top 25, because I think this is where the list hits a lot of things correctly, although there's probably a few changes I would make for sure. You know, John Frusciante at 25, I don't know about that. I think that's a little bit high for him. And the big one for me is Stevie Ray Vaughan at 20, and Joni Mitchell at 9, and then Tom Morello at 18. No way. No way, not in any universe should those two be higher than Stevie Ray Vaughan. There's no universe where that's legit. I'm sorry, it just doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Flat out doesn't exist. At 16, you have Robert Johnson. 15, Keith Richards. You know, that's making sense. No arguments there. And then we've got Prince, Tony Iommi, Jimmy Nolan, who played with James Brown, comes in at 12. That makes sense. Carlos Santana, Dwayne Allman. Yeah, those are, you're coming at the 11, 10 range, top 10. You know, Nile Rodgers at 7, maybe a little high, but he's probably close to the top 10, because if you think of all those funk riffs that he laid down in the 70s, it's just really super influential. And then in the top 5, you could move these up or down, but it's hard to go. It's hard to really complain too much about this top 5 with Eddie Van Halen and Jeff Beck, Jimi Hendrix. You know, you can make the case that Hendrix maybe isn't 1, maybe he's 2. You know, there's a possibility there. Chuck Berry, so that all makes sense. It's just that I think the big one standing out to me is Joni Mitchell at number 9, and just Stevie Ray Vaughan needs to be higher, because let's face it, very few. I would have Stevie Ray Vaughan definitely in the top 10, maybe 6, maybe at 5. Maybe I'm a little biased because I think he's such a great guitar player, but greatest guitar players of all time, he has to be in the top 10. He has to be. All right, so who do you guys think should be on this list? Thousands of guitar players in the world. Put something in the comments. You know, everybody has different style of music that they like, so maybe there's not enough metal players, maybe there's not enough folk players, maybe there's not enough classical players, Segovia, you know, those type of players. This has been Damon D, one world, one rock.